It's larch season here in the Rockies, so we're heading up to Taylor Lake today, which we're hoping will get us lots of great larch trees and some great photography, staying overnight up there. But also, as we've just started the trail, we've met with Parks Canada and there's been a wolf on the trail that's been following people. And they let us have a go on their little radar thing, little collar detector, and said it was about 10 meters away. So a little bit nervous. They said it's nothing to worry about, but there could be a wolf just in the hedges over here somewhere. But we've been told it's safe to carry on and hopefully go up and camp tonight. So hopefully that's true. So it's about a 6-kilometer walk up to Taylor Lake today. Pretty much just through the woods, uphill, through the trees. So maybe not the most entertaining walk, and probably a bit more of a nervous walk now as well after having that wolf warning on the way up. When I first saw Parks Canada, they had kind of like a paintball gun to haze it. So I thought, oh, that's okay. And then as we started the trail, it turned out they actually had a shotgun as well. But the advice we've been given, if we see the wolf, is to appear as tall as possible, poles above our heads, and scream, but scream in a low voice. So you don't want to sound like prey and kind of do anything high-pitched, sounding like a panicked rabbit, which, to be honest with you, I'm not going to make any promises that that is not what's going to happen if I see a wolf. But we will show you when we get to the top. And as you can see so far, there is a nice bit of yellow foliage all on the side of the trail here as well, so the top should be pretty nice. As we rather anxiously made our way up the trail, every footprint we saw started to look rather wolf-like. However, we soldiered on, and as we approached the lake, the autumnal colours really began to pop. The walk to Taylor Lake really is all about the destination, and what a destination it is. You can see we've made it to Taylor Lake, and we've timed it pretty well. The larches are showing really nicely along the lake here, and I think tomorrow morning we're going to get some really nice reflections there. But first things first is we're going to grab ourselves a bit of lunch, set up camp, drop off some gear here in the woods, and then we're going to hike on up to Panorama Ridge, which I think you might just be able to see behind me. I think it's somewhere kind of in that general direction, and up there we should get some really good views back towards Moraine Lake and lots of larch trees. So that's first, and then this is where we'll be shooting sunrise tomorrow morning. Taylor Lake Campground is basic, but it's charming. Unlike most backcountry sites, there aren't really specific pitches, but it does offer some scenic picnic benches, some bear lockers to safely store food overnight, as well as some stunning lakeside camping. Now, Panorama East, which we're hiking to now, is only about 4 kilometres away from Taylor Lake. And to be honest with you, I can't understand why this isn't a more popular hike. Like, we've immediately out of the campsite been thrown into larch forests all over the place, and they're getting pretty close to prime colours. I'd highly recommend coming up here if you're ever staying at Taylor Lake or visiting Taylor Lake. Make the extra detour to come up this way. Through the meadows, it was pretty hard to keep track of the trail, and we lost it a few times. We began to search for flagging tape to guide us. However, our accidental detours did lead us to some interesting places, neither of which I could find again, even if I tried. One of those being this old wooden hut that was slowly being reclaimed by the larch trees. We also stumbled across an old slate mine, a tunnel running deep into the mountain. Now, I've seen enough horror movies to know adventuring any further into this tunnel wouldn't be a good idea. So we quickly retreated back to our view of the larches. With the novelty wearing off, the extra kilometres and full summits began to take their toll.
It's an annoying hike.
However, the more work you put in, the more rewarding the view. Or at least that's what I tell myself. So this is the top of Panorama Ridge. Ended up being a bit of a slog just because of those detours, but I think the views are worth it. Once Brooke's got a bit of candy inside her, she'll be happy again. Now the focus of coming up to Panorama Ridge wasn't really photography this evening, so I didn't bring along a tripod or anything like that. But whilst I'm up here, I'm going to try and get a couple of compositions if I can. So I've got a little bit of a composition that I'm trying down this way. I'll just show you that. You've just got this kind of really nice ridge line just here, kind of running into where all the larches are. And then we've got a little bit of light kind of playing along the mountains in the background as well. Now, because I don't have a tripod, what I'm just going to do actually is do a multi-bracketed exposure, just handheld on the camera. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to set that to 5 brackets so I get a full dynamic range. And I'm going to shoot on about f11 and ISO 800. The reason I'm doing that is because I want to be able to get a sharp shot. So if I use f11, it's going to be relatively sharp front to back and I'm not going to have to focus stack it. And if I use ISO 800, I'm going to get a faster shutter speed, which will mean hopefully I won't get any kind of blur from any hand wobble. And the camera's pretty good at ISO 800, so I'm not too worried about that. And I think using that combination will mean I'll be able to get a pretty good picture handheld and then blend all those together. So what's really nice about the Taylor Lake campground is that you are just so close to the lake when you're camping here. It's about 7 o'clock this morning and I just walked about 20 metres from my tent down to the shorefront here, and you can see we've been treated to these kind of glass-like reflections. So I'm going to kind of scout out the shoreline, see if I can find some kind of foreground interest in the rocks. And I'm also going to use the longer lens a bit because I think that's going to work really well today, just to kind of isolate certain sections around here. So because the mountain range here is so vast and we're so close to the lake, it's actually really difficult to get the whole thing in one shot. So what I've decided to do is come down a little bit lower here and shoot a portrait image. And I'm using this rock here in the foreground as a bit of foreground interest, getting really close to it to kind of accentuate that rock and make it look a bit larger. And what's really nice about this as well is that this rock here has a kind of a bit of a reddy purple hue to it, which really matches the kind of colour in the sky. And what I'm hoping for over the next little while is that the sun's going to come up from behind me over here and then hopefully cast a little bit of light on these mountains. It keeps kind of coming in and out. So hopefully if I wait around long enough, I should be able to capture that. And I'm going to combine a couple of images, one focused on the rock down here, one focused on the mountains, and then another exposure a little bit darker for the sky, and then going to combine all of those together. Now the sun's come up a little bit more, you can see that we're getting some really nice golden light on the faces on the other side of the lake, and that's kind of what I was hoping for. But now it's a bit brighter, what I'm going to do actually is pop on a 10-stop ND filter so I can really get smooth water and get some movement in these clouds up at the top here as well. I'm in exactly the same composition I had before with that rock in the foreground, and it's really interesting to see the difference of images you can get just by waiting maybe like half an hour. I've popped on that long lens now and I can kind of see that when the light comes up a bit more, although it might go behind that cloud, it should kind of backlight the larch trees just over here. So I'm using the longer lens to kind of isolate a bit of a reflection over there because, like I said, the whole scene is pretty much impossible to get in one shot. And what I'm doing as well is using a 16:9 frame or 16:9 crop on the preview. So on my camera I can change it from full 16:9, 4:3, a few different kind of aspect ratios. And even though I take the picture and it will kind of preview it like that, it will take the full image, but it gives me a really good idea of how to actually compose the image out here in the field. So a great little campsite here at Taylor Lake, and some great photography to be had by the lakefront as well as some great hiking. But we're going to have a little bit of breakfast before we hike on out, and I suppose if there's another video after this one, you'll know that we've not been eaten by a wolf. But thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one.